Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Bismillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah. Amma ba'd. This is chapter 3, the chapter of patience in the book of Riyadh us-Saliheen by Imam An-Nawawi rahimahullah. وعن أنس رضي الله عنه قال مر النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بامرأة تبكي No, we already read this one. Yeah. Forgot to change it. Okay. وعن عطاء ابن أبي رباح قال قال لابن عباس رضي الله عنهما ألا أريك امرأة من أهل الجنة فقلت بلى قال هذه المرأة السوداء أتت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقالت إني أسرع وإني أتكشف فادعوا الله تعالى لي قال إن شئت صبرت ولك الجنة وإن شئت دعوت الله تعالى أن يعافيك فقالت أصبر فقالت إني أتكشف فادعوا الله ألا أتكشف فدعا لها متفق عليه. وعن أبي عبد الرحمن عبد الله بن مسعود رضي الله عنه قال كأني أنظر إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يحكي نبيا من الأنبياء صلوات الله وسلامه عليهم ضربه قومه فأدموه وهو يمسح الدم عن وجهه يقول اللهم اغفر لقومي فإنهم لا يعلمون. Ata ibn Abi Rabah reported that Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma asked him whether he would like that he should show him a woman who is from the people of Jannah. When he replied that he certainly would, he said, there was a black woman who came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, I suffer from epilepsy. And during the epilepsy fits, my body is exposed. So make supplication to Allah for me. He ﷺ replied, if you wish, you can endure it patiently and you will be rewarded with Jannah. Or if you wish, I shall make supplication to Allah to cure you. She said, I shall endure it patiently. Then she added, but my body is exposed. So pray to Allah that it does not happen, i.e. does not happen during the epilepsy fit. He sallallahu alayhi wasallam then supplicated for her. Yeah, so this is a hadith in which here's a woman that came to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and subhanAllah, if you look at her, the level of her iman, she is going through something which could be described in one of two terms. Either it is a miracle, it is caused by something that's physical, or something that could be spiritual. There's two types of fits. One is a physical epilepsy that happens due to whatever happens to a person's body that leads to epilepsy. The other is a spiritual, which no modern medicine can cure or diagnose or address. And so there's two types. We don't know which one she was going through, whether it was the medical or whether it was the spiritual. In any case, both of them, they have, I believe, certain drugs that you can take which could either cure it or could put it under control. So a person can have these episodes under control, and sometimes when they refuse or when they forget to take it, then they have a major event that happens. And so this woman, she asked the Prophet ﷺ, I'm going through this, and what happens is my body exposes. Everyone knows what epilepsy is, correct? Yes? And so she says, my body gets exposed. So the Prophet ﷺ said, if you want, I can make dua to Allah to give you shifa. You'll be cured from your epilepsy. Or, if you want, you can have patience, but you will have Jannah for that patience. And so she says, no, I will have patience. But she was still worried about her religious modesty, her haya. She said, Atakashaf, I get exposed when I have these fits. So this is something, if you make dua, Allah will be happy on that. Because I'm worried about my modesty, my haya, my self being exposed. So the Prophet ﷺ, because that's something you cannot have sabr. How can you have sabr when you get exposed? Do you guys understand? And so the Prophet ﷺ made dua for her. And so if anyone is going through this, they need to seek medical treatment. But if someone is going through what they call the possession of jinns, and this has been confirmed both from the Quran as well as from the Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that there are people who gets exposed they get possessed by jinn. And the jinn, they overtake certain people for one reason or another. Jinns don't go around saying, hey, today I like to, have fun with this person, so let me go ahead and take over his body and give him a hard time and then I leave. That's not how jinns work. In certain parts of the Muslim world, their belief or their obsession with the jinns, it is super exaggerated. So the person, he may be sleeping at night and the door creaks, he says, this is jinn. But if me and you are, the door creaks, we said there's probably a crack in the window or in the door, and that's why the wind came and it creaked. Do you guys understand? I deal with cases in which it has to do with marriage, divorce, fasakh, khul, talaq, all of this. And so, most of the times it gets blamed on evil eye, it gets blamed on jinn, sihr, black magic. Why do you think that is? No, they have faith, they have iman, yeah. No, not paranoia. Lack of understanding. Yeah, okay, culture. No, it's because, yeah. Very good. No one wants to take responsibility. Nowadays, when someone is overweight, yeah, who do we blame? Well, remember, there was a culture. I think maybe that culture still exists, where you blame McDonald's and you blame the potato chips and you blame the soda and you blame every single person you blame for your overweightness and your obesity, except yourself. Yes, they use trans fat but you made a conscious decision to eat that. To go drive there and order, double cheese, triple cheeseburger with, triple bypass surgery type of oil cooked in that. Yeah, they blame everyone. Except who? Except themselves. So when their marriage is failing, who do you think they're going to blame? They're blaming the jinns. The jinns are probably sitting there saying, we had nothing to do with this. Do you guys understand? They're blaming black magic. The jinns must have a reason to possess someone. Like what? You encroached upon their territory, for example. You entered their houses, their dwellings without seeking the refuge with Allah from them. You are taking off your clothes and you're dressing yourself without saying Bismillah. So there can be a curtain. You harmed them. You killed their child. You don't know. You didn't know. They're from the unseen. So you probably may have done something which harmed them. For example, going to the bathroom, whatever it is, you can step on their baby and kill their baby, and now they have a vengeance against you, and they're going to do something to you or your baby. These are all real, and these are all documented throughout the history, but there must be a reason. And there's cures for it, spiritual cures. But subhanAllah, in certain countries, they take it to the level where every single thing is, they blame it on shaitan. Every single thing. They blame it on the jinns. And they will go ahead and do so many other things that is haram. That is haram. So if a girl refuses the proposal of someone, what happens? She's possessed. So they go to the sahir, the person who does black magic, or to do magic to counter that, so that way she can accept my proposal. And subhanAllah, why don't we have these cases here? Yeah. And the same thing can be said about psychologists as well. Psychologists, when they think of everything, okay, from a particular paradigm, what ends up happening is when they go through a small little anxiety, khalas, they diagnose themselves, they start taking pills, they start doing. One of the most famous, clinical psychiatrists, he was about to kill himself. He was about to commit suicide. And why? Because when you think only from a certain angle, then that thing is going to overtake your life, and you're going to see everything from that particular perspective, and you will start to diagnose everything from those lenses. Okay? So, the Prophet ﷺ, he would go ahead and recite. He gave us cures. Ayatul Kursi, Surah Fatiha, for example, the last 3 surahs, and verses of the Quran that talks about warning and punishment. And there are so many stories that we don't really have time to talk about them. The other hadith is narrated by Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, who said that I can still recall as if I am looking or I am seeing the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam resembling one of the prophets whose blood scourged him and shed his, whose people scourged him and shed his blood. While he wiped blood from his face, he said, "O Allah, forgive my people because they do not know." So here Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, he is talking about the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, how, of course, this is many years after his death. So he's saying, as if I could see him right now, as if I'm looking at him. He's saying, I can still recall what he said to me. So the Prophet ﷺ said this to Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. So Abdullah ibn Mas'ud is recalling this narration from the Prophet ﷺ, and he, as if he could see him. And so he's saying that there were prophets, including our Prophet ﷺ. There were prophets that would call people towards Allah, and the people would abuse them both physically and verbally. And some of them, they would be so much physically abused that blood will be pouring from their heads. Either they will get punched or hit with a rock or hit with a sword, of course on the blunt side of the sword. And sometimes they will be sawed in half like these, or combed with iron combs, their skin. This would happen to them. And what do you think the prophets are doing? That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He chose the best people and the right people to give the message, to receive it, and to deliver it to the people with utmost patience. لا أسألكم عليه أجرا in ajriya illa ala rabbil alamin. They never took a wage. They never took any money for their da'wah. And yet they were, if someone is volunteering, someone is trying to do good and save you from something, you would appreciate, at the very least, appreciate their efforts. Instead of appreciating their efforts, this is what they did to the prophets. And so the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Oh Allah, forgive my people." They cared for their people so much. Say, "Oh Allah, forgive them," because they don't know what they're doing. They don't know that if they were to die upon this kufr and shirk, that they will be in hellfire for eternity. Oh Allah, forgive them. And they don't know that if they were to kill or harm a just imagine, an ambassador from one country an ambassador from a powerful country goes to a very poor country, and he gets abused. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? Yeah, war. And it has happened in the history of the world. So you have a messenger from Allah, the most powerful, being sent as a favor to His people to call them towards Him. And so they are abusing Him. What do you think that is? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's what do you think, how Allah is viewing this? His wrath. من عاد لي وليا فقد آذنته بالحرب. A regular wali of Allah, meaning he's not a prophet, a friend of Allah, you harm him, Allah declares war on you. Imagine a prophet. Imagine a prophet. And so this prophet, he is preempting and telling Allah, "Oh Allah, forgive them. Don't harm them," because they don't know. Now, if this is the mercy of a prophet for his people, what about the mercy of a Rabbul Alameen? Yeah? And so it is actually from Rabbul Alameen who put it in the hearts of these prophets to make this kind of dua. So the whole thing, the whole lesson from this is many lessons, subhanAllah. But since this is under the chapter of patience, patience will get you into Jannah. And that's the whole theme of almost every single hadith that we have been reciting. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from amongst those who have patience and perseverance, and give us the ability to endure all of the difficulties and the tests and the trials, whatever they may be, with patience. May Allah protect us and our family from all types of diseases and sicknesses, and allow us to worship Him in a manner that is pleasing to Him. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.